more of this. I'm going to start taking my list cardio way up. It's what I'm going to do for all my streaming, because quite frankly, I feel like I need more cardio, especially kind of what I'm doing with my diet. I feel like I can lean out more while making gains. And I feel like really just more list cardio will be the key to doing that, especially when keeping the carbs super high and the fat low. Training was really good today. I'm very happy with today's workout. I'll have vlog up here in a bit. But yeah, so I'm going to start doing more and more walking. I'm going to start doing bike too. So we're going to do a lot of that also. So I'm going to get my indoor bike set up and start streaming while I ride it also. But I feel like it would benefit me to work up to about 2 hours of list cardio a day. All right, I have the time to do it. I can multitask and stream while doing it. I have multiple monetized platforms where I literally get paid to stream. Not necessarily a lot, but kill two birds with one stone, right? So I think that's what we need to do. But yeah, I feel like now that I'm really carved up, training is going really well. Got my recovery right where I want it. I can start increasing just the list cardio and just burns through more fat calories. Someone brought that up in the comments, and I kind of mentioned that too. They said, does that stuff work? It's like, yeah, John Perillo used to do that. You guys remember Dr. John Perillo? Like, he coached a bunch of pro bodybuilders, and he used to have them do that, and he called it flux, to where he would have them carbohydrate overfeed and drop their fat to 10% or less of their calories, and literally just list cardio them all the way to the stage. Like, he never had them run low calories. And that's a viable method, and it makes sense if you understand the biochemistry around it. And I think people forget too, that's almost a separate topic, right? Hit that like button, guys, by the way. I feel like that's a topic that doesn't get discussed enough. That people need to understand, you can't just eat limitless calories and absorb them. So like when we have these conversations about certain dietary approaches, and I bring that up, it's like you're not going to eat enough whole food carbs to get fat, if, other than the fat you're eating. They're like, but unlimited is like there isn't an unlimited amount unless you're doing table sugar. I'm just going to be honest. You're not absorbing 7,000 calories of rice in a day. It is not biologically possible. You cannot do it. Like, just because you physically eat it, you're going to poop most of it out. And it's not opinion. This is stuff that you have to know. Like, if you're a coach and you work with endurance athletes, this is stuff you actually have to know. So I feel like the lifting world, definitely in fitness world, is detached from the rest of sports science, right? They are completely oblivious to what goes on in the rest of the world. And that's a perfect example. Endurance athletes have problems with this. This is why they have to have specialized foods, because with any given food type, there's going to be a maximum absorbable threshold, and you're literally just going to shit the rest out. And it's lower than people think. It's something for most normal foods until you get into, really processed stuff. Right? It's around 2.5 times your base metabolic rate. So you see where we're going. So if your BMR is 2,000, it's around 5,000 calories. And you're going to struggle to absorb more than that unless it is heavily refined foods. You start throwing fiber and stuff in the mix. Hey, Coach, I see the sun. Jason, when you say we should do the big 3, does that mean for rep work, or can a training max? I mean, a training max works, and you can use other stuff around it. All approaches work there, right? I like both approaches. I think you can do them as rep work. I think you can also do them as training maxes and use other exercises, right? Hey, Coach, I see the sun is shining. It is. It's 9:15 here. Sun is out. Sun's out. Guns out. Like I said, I'm going to be taking my cardio way up just my list cardio. I'm going to stream all of it. I'm going to use it to multitask. I'm going to rotate through my different platforms. Yep, he dropped a like for that. He appreciate it. Mr. Dinky says hi. Duo, how much progress should a novice Duo, I don't have an answer to your vague question. But then why would they start with just the bar? Again, very, very vague. I'm not going to answer that because I would never start them with just the bar if they were strong enough to lift more than the bar. Like, really? You're going to just use the squat with a bar? I mean, how weak is this person? Well, there is no basic. They're going to gain the way they gain. Hey, Duo, I noticed yesterday you came in just to spam arguments. You do strike me as a troll. Just saying. Because you want to dominate the chat, telling me how you want to get people fat. 50-pound bulks in a year. And I feel like you're doing it purely to get me worked up and to sound angry and mean to people, right? And there's no need for all that. I don't need to be doing that in my chats. All right. It's not beneficial to people. So I kind of feel like that's what your game is. Like, I don't think you actually believe what you're saying. All right, coach doesn't need that nonsense. Exactly, Peppermint. All right. Yeah, you don't actually believe what you're saying, dude. You're creating fights. It's called trolling. Yeah, you don't actually believe you should be taking a novice and have them gain 50 pounds and eat them. Yep. You're definitely not a fitness professional. You claim, if you're telling me that's what you think. Well, it's temporary. Like, yeah, dude, no. 50 pounds in a year is excessive. Even if they were on drugs, that would be excessive. Right? So, again, I know what you're doing, dude. But, that's right. Peppermint says we the fans of coach don't appreciate it. We don't need that nonsense, guys. There's no need for it. We don't need any of it. Mr. Dinky says I'm cutting right now, running 3 to 5 miles a day. Man, that's a lot. But it works. I used to do that when I was younger, before I got really into lifting and I needed to lose weight. I got to where I used to do 5 miles every morning, and it helped me lose a ton of weight when I was younger. What are the main downsides to a body part split once a week versus twice? Less motor unit learning. So it may not necessarily be, okay, it is going to limit the volume that you can really benefit from, because you're going to get into junk volume quickly, especially if you're not on drugs. As long as you're not trying to do the volumes crazy high drug free, it can work. Like if you're a moderate volume, body part splits, I think will be perfectly fine for maximizing muscle. The problem is we start going past about, 9 to 10 sets in a workout, it's turning into junk volume really fast, without drugs, if you're not on any drugs. But the downside really is the lack of neural drive. You're not getting repeat exposure multiple times to the same movement patterns. So, I mean, really, it's a question of what are you trying to do? Are you drug free, and what sort of volumes are you trying to run, and do you care necessarily about neural drive on the lifts? So it's not necessarily a downside. I think you would do awesome. I'm too old for that, dude. Do you think novices get obsessed with the progressive overload aspect, like trying to just put weight on the bar? Dude, I agree with that. And I think lots of people do that. When we start cutting range of motion, we start cheating just to put weight on the bar. Come on. This is no longer stimulating muscle growth. And, and it's one thing when we're talking controlled cheating. you know, we're like bodybuilder type cheat curls. It's a little different. I'm talking just bad form cheating. Same thing if they're just gaining fat. They're just putting weight on the bar using leverage. They're not getting more muscle fiber recruitment. So yeah, it's problematic. Does those 9 to 10 sets include the ILMI work? Chad, I personally am reluctant to count ILMI work as a full set. I mean, I guess you could count it as a set. You know, if it's actually multiple reps ramping up, but if you just hit to one single and only one of them is above 90%, I don't know that I'd count it. But if you're doing a shorter ramp up with small jumps and you end up with like maybe 3 reps at 90% plus, I'd count it as a set. No, novices only need to think about weight on the bar. Well, no, Gordon, they do need to think about form because, again, we're talking weight on the bar at all costs. Are they getting fat to just get leverages? Are they cheating? Are they squatting 6 inches above depth trying to get more weight now? That's what we're talking about. As an advanced lifter, just a couple of pound gains every 2 to 4 months is a lot, and you can cut that in half with smaller muscles. We need more likes in here. Jacob's right, guys. Get those likes up. Get those likes up for Coach. I don't know any advanced lifter who thinks, Gordon, we know plenty of advanced lifters who do. We know plenty of coaches who do. Literally a massive topic of conversation. Hey Jason, I hope you're doing well. Love your videos. Currently on routine doing weighted chin-ups, overhead press, and back squats. Is that good enough? No, you need more than that. As a novice, it might be okay, but you're definitely not building everything. You need more stuff in there. Okay. Gordon says, obviously when I say weight on the bar, I'm talking with consistent form. See, Gordon, but look at the question that he asked, at all cost. And that's a problem. We all see novices who do that, right? We all see novices who do that. When you tell them progressive overload, they are thinking at any cost. They start bouncing the bar off their chest. They start squatting half squats, and we see it a lot unless you correct them. So that's when we say at all costs, that's what we're talking about. What's the difference between a set of 5 reps and 12? Well, one of them has 5 reps and the other has 12. You don't seem to program based on obvious intermediate advantage is as strange as a strength coach. Well, you can think strange all you want, but I produce really strong lifters. All right, that's just silly. No one's advertising them to do that. They need to watch real. Well, Gordon, but that's the point we're making. They need to not do that silly stuff. Nobody is telling them to do it. They naturally gravitate towards it unless they're corrected oftentimes, especially young men. Weighted pull-ups and dips, rep range 3 to 5, feel strong with it. Thanks for the advice. Cool. Man, doing 3s on weighted dips, though, can be real tough. Right? And Gordon, of course it's silly. Of course it's silly. We all know it's silly. They don't seem to always grasp it's silly. Richard Sparks says, good morning. But yeah, I'm just going to ignore the guy from now on, though, who's just like wanting guys to gain excessive amounts and just get fat. Come on, dude. Just stop. All right. What strength standards on sets of 5 would you have novices start maxing? I wouldn't necessarily set it on a strength number. I would set maxing based upon their level of maturity in the gym, right? Because by that same token, do we want to set a number? Because we're going to have different heights, different weights, different ages, different genders. No, I would base it upon, do they use good form? Do they approach training in a manner to where they can safely max? That's all I'm concerned with. If someone wants to max out, if we want to really get them strong and use max effort work, I'm primarily concerned with, can they do it safely? Right? Can they do it safely? No, Gordon, they don't need a big surplus. Why? Now I have both of you guys in here arguing this. They can have a small surplus. They don't need to gain 5 pounds a month. They don't need to gain 4 pounds a month. They can gain, if they're really underweight, up to 2 pounds a month. That will 100% absolutely maximize every single possible drop of muscle, right? Because they're not going to gain more than 2 pounds of muscle a month, even as a skinny underweight novice. Like, that's pushing it. And most people can't gain 2 pounds a month. You almost only works for the skinny underweight novice. Oh gosh. Well, you guys can argue that all you want. I mean, you're free to have your opinion. I'm not going to promote it. Blaha, what are some of the ways you mitigate inflammation and tendinitis? Sleep. Having a diet that is anti-inflammatory. If you need to, band work and other stuff to get blood flow to those tendons and areas. Can most people still run into their late 50s? So it depends on what you want to do. I personally don't want to beat my joints up and interfere with my lifting with running. But I mean, if you enjoy running, sure. I see no reason why not. 365 times 3 bench with a pause that's equal to 405 max. No, but it's close. Morning, Coach. Morning, Paul. Hey, Chad. So 405 is pushing it for that. The reason being that's probably about 90%. So it may be somewhere 390 up to about 400. 405, maybe. Makes sense, Chad? I just noticed you don't do it in your 30s, you lose in your 40s. I'm not saying this to be a dick, but why has your strength not gone up? Let's see. Let's get rid of this. All right. Mr. Dinky, lots of stuff like that, sure. But what if you don't care? Like for me, I just don't care about running. But let's come over to the point. If you care about running and you enjoy running, by all means. Mortal says, I'm 165 foot 10 with a 385 deadlift, 340 squat. Is that about right for someone? Yeah, no, that sounds about reasonable for where you are. Obviously, you want to keep working those up over time and keep gaining muscle. But I think that's pretty respectable for that height and weight right now. Yeah, I think that's totally respectable, right? It's indicative of a guy who's probably at a pretty decent body composition, considering the height, right? So I'm 5'6.5" in height, currently skinny fat, 175 pounds, eating 2 meals a day, 2 scoops of whey a day. What's your thoughts? Well, you're at 175. I don't know about the 2 meals a day. There's no reason to only eat 2 meals a day. If you're skinny fat, just recomp. You could literally say that, or you could do a very slow cut for just a bit. Focus on gaining some muscle, because to not be skinny fat, you need to gain muscle. So you could trim down to a slightly healthier body fat, and then recomp for a bit, and then lean bulk. Would be my advice. Because yeah, if you're not a serious lifter yet, that is a bit heavy for that height. If you don't have a lot of muscle. That's right. Peppermint says, I'm counting more than 9 people that hit that like button, guys. He's right. Let's get them likes up. Yep, we gotta get those. hey, I can't stay out here too much longer. I have a maintenance situation coming up sometime between 10 and 10:30. Something outside, they may not need to talk to me. Hey coach, I'm 5'11", 205, but have a visible six-pack. Says I'm obese on the BMI. I wouldn't worry about the BMI calculator. Like, dude, you're 5'11", 205, and you have abs. You're fine, dude. I wouldn't spend a lot of time worried about it at that point. Well, the problem is, Duo, not saying starting strength programming isn't for novices. It clearly is. Problem is, riptail also gets people fat. Problem is, a lot of the starting strength people are type 2 diabetics who are actual coaches for them. I mean, the body fat in the starting strength circles is not healthy. It's not fit. It's a little out of control. I would be reluctant to take any of their nutrition advice just because they're getting good leverages. Chad, would you suggest off-season bodybuilders power build with MD work to gain size off-season, drop MD work? Maybe, unless they're Ronnie Coleman. You'd be doing 800 plus pound deadlifts 2 weeks before the Olympia. But barring Ronnie Coleman, maybe, I think something like that could be viable. They could still power build going into a show. No reason they can't do moderately heavy big three. Yep. Also, what are your opinion on rest times? I think you should rest as long as you need to replicate your sets. Our lifting is not intended for cardio. I get it if we're doing speed work. Dynamic effort's different, but for normal work sets, right? For normal work sets, I think you should rest as long as necessary to replicate performance. I'm rarely going to advocate less than about 3 minutes between sets for any big exercise, you know? And if it's something like squats, if you're doing heavy sets of 5 on squats, you probably need 5 minutes. Like, let's just be realistic, right? I have to go. Have a great day, Jason. Keep up the good work. You provide great value to the world. God bless. Thank you for your insights. I appreciate that, goal hitter. Appreciate your kind words. Mr. Dinky says, later, Gator. Have a nice doing. 10 for 4 on over press. Well, that's definitely a good spot. And he's 147, so you haven't bulked him up super fat. And he could just low gain from there and be good. No, I think that's really good. Blaha is a wealth of knowledge. Appreciate it, man. From low to high. But see, that's a perfect example. That's a skinny novice. You could just slow bulk him up, and he could just make continual progress without needing to cut, right? And that's the idea. I don't think there is a weight gain to strength ratio because individual leverages are going to vary a lot for a pound of muscle from person to person. But there should be a general upward trend. Like your bench weight on the bar should definitely be exceeding your body weight gain, right? If you gain 10 pounds of body weight and your bench has only gone up 10 pounds, all you did was gain fat. Like that would be horrifically bad. I try to keep my rest times to 2 minutes at most, and it's quite heavy any longer, and it feels like, well, it's not about wasting time, it's about getting the most out of each set. With 30 pounds on upper body lifts for 10 weight be good? Potentially. I definitely would like to see a little more on the squat and deadlift, but upper body, I think that's fine. Recently came off sugar-free energy drinks, dropped over 2.5 kilos in 10 days. I stopped them. I don't think this was holding that much weight in them. Yeah, I don't know if that was the only thing that changed. I don't know what's in all those energy drinks though. Like, I don't usually drink stuff like that, so I don't keep up with them. Uh, what? 2 and 5 power and hypertrophy. Yeah. I personally am a fan of longer sets unless you're just doing pump work. You know, I get it if you're doing high rep curls and stuff. Any compound movement, I'm never going to advocate less than 3 minutes unless we're doing dynamic effort work. But it doesn't create the same set to set fatigue. Again, you can always do cardio to get your conditioning up. Right? Again, just my opinion, you don't have to follow it. Can resting too little between sets affect progress? Absolutely. If it impacts performance set to set, then yes, because then we're turning into junk volume sets. Mr. Dinky, I try to do a minimum of 30 minutes. We're already past that to here, but I'm about to take it way up. I'm gonna start doing multiple cardio sessions a day. I'll start combining my recumbent bike, my desk bike with walking. I want to take my list cardio way up while I'm doing some stuff with my diet. I think it's time for me to lean out a bit without compromising my gains. So I feel like I can balance that with diet and list cardio. But I'm going to stream most of it. It gives me a good chance to just do more lives across all my platforms. Yeah, I'm only doing lists because my lifting is pretty heavy, especially with me squatting and deadlifting twice a week right now. I don't want to be doing any high intensity cardio. I just want to get nice energy turnover. Yep. Hidden hammer. I don't see who hidden hammer is. 7 rep warm-ups. I don't do more than 3 reps on warm-up sets, personally. I know people are like, what? Yeah. My warm-up sets are intended to just be warm-up sets. They're not intended to get a training response. That's what the work sets are for. What surplus trigger for beginner depends on what weight gain I want them to gain. Your guy who's super skinny, I might have him gain up to 2 pounds a month, but someone else 1. The surplus is going to be tiny, absolutely microscopic, like 100 calories. Michael Hearn said in a video he sometimes takes 10 minutes between sets. Yep. Michael Hearn is jacked and strong at his age. What does that tell you? Again, people are worried about wasting time, but it's like, dude, if you're doing your big lifts, you need those sets to count. And if you need 10 minutes between sets of squats, then take 10 minutes between sets of squats. And I'm not saying everyone needs to do that. If you're not pretty strong, it's not going to be the case. When you're really strong, it may be warranted. So I'm going to actually not disagree with O'Hearn on that. I think saying leaner makes men look better or big and higher body fat. I think being leaner is healthier. Bros. Like or what is our end game here? Right? I mean, are we in the pursuit of fitness, or are we just at the pursuit of a big total? Well, Mr. Dinky, I mean, totally fair. If you can replicate your performance set to set, then by all means carry on. But if you can't, it's just something to think about. Yeah, but getting jacked. But again, how fat are we talking here? Anybody who gains 50 pounds in a year like you described is going to be fat. They're not going to be at a healthy body fat at the end unless they were literally like almost anorexic level. But if you just have a skinny novice who doesn't even have a 6-pack yet, and you put 50 pounds on him in a year, his body fat is going to be in an unhealthy range. It's going to be guaranteed. He is going to be over 25% body fat. How many steps a day should we get to be healthy? I don't know. I always tell people walk at least 20 minutes a day. I mean, that's just your minimum. I don't care about step count. I know there's been certain studies looking at it. Just get out and walk. Just get out and move. Just get your activity up, guys. You know, list cardio and walking and things are not deep programming. You know, it's not the same as training for a 315 bench or something. Let's see what some of you guys are posting. There must be some commenters I can't see. I let him lift alone, but he doesn't listen, so it's hard. Well, some clients are not going to listen. You're always going to have that. What do you do? I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I had a client for years. He paid on time. I couldn't get him to listen. He still filmed his lifts. But he told me, he's like, well, until I hired you, I never got to a 1 plate per side bench. He couldn't get to 1 plate per side on his own. But you know, the problem we ran into is, and again, I'm not going to name names or where he lived or anything, but definitely a case of, he's like, I can't give up alcohol and cocaine and junk food. So it's like, I mean, I coached him, and I couldn't get him to use good form on most of his stuff, you know. But he paid on time, and he at least followed the program, and I tried to help him. But, you know, so what do? But he obviously never reached a 2 plate per side bench at any point because, you know, he had to get drunk every Friday and Saturday night. He had to do cocaine. He couldn't quit. And he had to eat garbage while he was drinking. So again, you're going to get, and that's it. I know that sounds horrible, but you're occasionally going to get a client like that. And you're going to have other clients who are 100% dedicated and do everything they need to do. It's the nature of the business. It's unfortunately. Eddie Hall shouted to one of them that he'd rip their head off and actually leave you probably. Clients like that. I mean, and it sounds crazy, but occasionally you're going to get one of those. Are squats and devs enough for lower body? I know you recently used somewhat from the mindset. Can they be enough for lower body? Mostly. You may need a little bit of other stuff. Can they handle the majority of it? Yeah. You better have your fatigue management on point with it. The main issue is being able to recover from using squats and deadlifts as your almost exclusive lower body stuff. You know, it's not that they don't work. I mean, think about the muscles involved, right? You can build massive quads, hamstrings, adductors, and glutes off just squats and deadlifts. Absolutely can. But you also have to balance how much volume are you going to do with them and can you recover. It can totally be done. It's just you have a little less wiggle room there just because of the nature of the movements and the overall fatigue they create. All right. But guys, I'm almost home. Glad I have multiple phones that can be charging for these. These phones run out of battery doing these. This one's at 68%. They're also not that new. Is the eat big? I mean, you have to eat big to gain, but you shouldn't be gaining weight fast. I mean, there's going to be a point where you literally might need 4,000 calories to not lose weight. Well, that's definitely eating big. But no, you don't need to get fat. You don't have to dreamer bulk. Like that's the BS. All right, guys, I'm home. I'm going to wind this down. I love you guys and gals, and I'll talk to you later.